What creative hobby would you turn to as a form of healing after your child is diagnosed with special needs that will last a lifetime? When her teenage son's epilepsy took a dangerous turn, Elise Speed spent most of her days in a panic. But on an especially trying day, Elise forced herself to find a hobby and fast. Crochet quickly became Elise's creative outlet and saving grace. Join me as we hear how Elise's unexpected success online has proven to be a source of healing for her whole family, including her son. Hello and welcome back to Wendy Crafts, the podcast where we heal through the creative work of our hearts and our hands. I'm Wendy Townley, and my passion for more than a decade has been crafting projects that offer me resilience, purpose, and strength. I am so excited to have a conversation with today's guest. Her name is Elise Speed, and those of you who are in the fiber arts will know her online as Elise Rose Crochet. Simply looking at the space in which she's joining us today and in her videos, you have a pretty good idea of where her passion lies and her creativity. And I definitely want to have a conversation today about the art of crochet and more importantly, what that type of craft brings into Elise's life, but also in the lives of so many of us who are crafters and creators and makers. So Elise, thank you so much for joining us today. I am so excited to have you and have a conversation with you.
Thank you, Wendy. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Good, good. Well, I have been a fan of yours for quite a while. I am a basic knitter. My sister and a couple other close friends are very active in crochet, and we have conversations about the differences. But what draws us to that craft is really there's similarities in what draws us to it. And so I want to kind of talk to you a little bit today about the craft and what brought you to it in the first place. But to begin, when you and I chatted a few weeks ago, you shared a phrase about your mindset when you start on a project or when you really get into a project, and you called it the flow state. I had never heard that phrase before. So to begin, define for us and explain what the flow state means in general and what it means to you. And I think almost more importantly, how you know when you're there.
I think everybody has been in that flow state one time or another. And it's that time when you're doing something. It's usually something creative, but it could be any kind of creativity, whether it's gardening, you're cooking, playing the piano, crocheting, knitting, doing art, anything, and time just seems to melt away, and you are present. Your thoughts aren't anywhere else. You are really in that moment, and you can look up and think, oh my goodness, how did 45 minutes just go by? And that's how I define flow state. And it's such a magical moment. It's such a wonderful way to just step into now and not think about what happened yesterday, what's going to happen in the future. You are really in the present. And I think that as a crocheter, especially when I'm working on something that's a little more like I'm not designing a toy where I really have to think about it. But when I'm working on a project that it's pretty mindless and I know the stitch repeats and I can just go and I'm with my stitches. I'm just right here with my yarn and my crochet hook, and basically nothing else exists. And that is it's a really nice place to be.
With your stitches. I love that. I need a t-shirt that says that. I'd rather be with my stitches.
Yes, exactly.
So well said. We'll talk about it a bit more. How are you feeling physically? How are you feeling mentally when you are in that space, in that flow state?
I think it melts away. You're not even thinking about how you are feeling mentally or physically, because all of that just disappears. You are just in that moment. You are right there. Nothing else exists. And it's just you know it when you're in it. And sometimes you don't even know it when you're in it, but you know when it's over and you're like, oh, wow, that was pretty magical.
It was a special moment. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, and it sounds like based on kind of your story, which I'd love for you to share with us today, going to that flow state really proved to be a place of healing and solace for you as your son was going through some pretty serious medical challenges. So if you could talk to us a little bit about that. I know it's been several years, but I'm sure that experience and those feelings are still very fresh.
Yeah. So it's our third child, Jackson, and he has had epilepsy most of his life. And it was really well controlled until he was about 17. And so this was 2016. And things went from, just it's a disorder that we had to manage to really being out of control. And one early morning in December, I think it was 2016, he ended up leaving our home in an ambulance because he had two really serious seizures back to back. And it was like nothing that we had ever experienced before. And that moment really changed my life. And I know for my son, and I know my husband as well, it kind of shook that foundation that everything's okay. Everybody has bumps in the road. And it really, to be honest with you, I felt like the earth cracked for me that day because it felt like, wait a minute, things really, really, really bad things do happen. And we're very fortunate that we found a really good neurologist. We travel up to Duke University, which is a few hours from us for his medical care now. But it was just a really, really scary time. And it was just one of those situations that sort of shifted my foundation a little bit. And then in 2020, so things kind of settled out a little bit. And then in 2020, he started not doing so well. And thankfully we were going to the neurologist up at Duke. And they decided to put him in the hospital. This was right in the middle of COVID. It was January of 2021. And, he was not doing well. We didn't realize that he had a cardiac condition and it was really serious. That was another one of those moments where it was like, you find yourself in situations in life where you think this happens to other people. This doesn't happen to me, Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so it was a really challenging time and he's doing so much better now, but it's still, it's a chronic condition that he will live with forever. And, as a mom, I'm always a little nervous about it.
Mm-hmm. And in those first weeks and months, as you were kind of navigating into this new reality, what type of support system did you have?
I mean, thankfully, I have a wonderful support system with my husband. We have 3 other kids, my mom, my in-laws. Everybody is very, very supportive. But I will say, I don't know if it's my own personality or if it's how I was raised or just as a woman, I really took it all on myself. I felt very much like this is my responsibility. This is something I have to fix. And I know that that's a trait that I have that I sometimes kind of push back and I feel like, okay, it's on my shoulders. I have to fix this. And I have to remind myself, hey, you do have a husband who loves him too. You've got other kids who love him too. So, but it's just the way I end up coping with things, I think.
Okay. You were kind of like captain of the trauma experience, leading the charge.
Exactly.
In a way,
yes.
Not to make
and
light
not realizing
of the situation.
I have a whole crew. I have a whole crew. It's just not me by myself. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you have any training for this role?
Oh gosh, no.
So,
no.
Simple question. How did you know what to do?
I think in those moments, you don't know what to do. You just figure it out as you go and you make mistakes and realize, well, that was probably not the best way to handle that. And I think some of it was instinct, just following my gut sometimes and just asking God, please, I need your help. Mm-hmm. Let me know, what do we need to do right now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And in this season, I'd love for you to share with us today about how you turn to the creativity inside you. You're surrounded by it. All of your content and that you share online is just beautiful, and it's remarkable to me knowing what I know about your story and then seeing this other side of like whimsy and light. So talk about how you discovered crochet and why and what it did for you, especially in those early weeks.
Yeah, I had originally learned the very, very basics of crochet from my grandmother back when I was like 10 years old. And I could literally only do the bare minimum. And I really didn't pick it back up. But especially in the very beginning in 2016, I was not handling the stress well. And I was just obsessing over everything and just online all the time, looking at different things and researching and finding out what does Dr. Google say about this. And it was incredibly unhelpful in so many ways.
I've been there,
but also,
so I know.
Yeah, right?
I have a degree in Dr. Google.
Exactly.
So
I know my mom will say, "Where did you get your medical degree from?" And
yeah,
I realized in one moment when I was talking to my son and I was just asking for the probably 400th time that day, "How are you feeling? Do you feel like you're going to have a seizure? Gosh, that last one was so scary. That was terrible." And he just looked at me, and he's 17 years old, and just said, "Mom, you have to stop it." And it was like I just snapped out of it and went, "Oh my gosh, he's a kid and I'm the one sitting here worrying, and I'm making this worse for him because I can't stop this just, it felt like a rabbit just running in my head constantly." And I thought, I got to do something about this. This is not good for him. This is not good for me. I need to be better for him. And I just thought, I need a hobby. I need something to do because he had been very active. He was going lots of places. We were doing lots of things. And during that time, everything came to a screeching halt because he just could not deal with it. His brain needed rest. And we were at doctor's appointments and hospital visits. So I just got on Pinterest that day and I was like, I'm going to find a hobby today, right now. I'm going to find it. And I went onto Pinterest and I'm just looking to see what would spark my interest. I originally thought maybe I would do some kind of like jewelry making or beads or something like that, but it wasn't striking my fancy. And then I saw this. It's a crocheted blanket called a granny square blanket. I didn't even know that was the name of it, but it literally felt like the heavens opened up and that light shone right onto the screen. And I was entranced and I thought, oh my goodness, I want to make that. And so I was looking at it and realized, oh, that's crochet. I remember some of that. I think I could do this. So I literally bought the pattern, went and got the yarn the next day, had no idea that I didn't have the skills to be able to make that particular project.
On day one.
But day one, right.
Yeah.
But I thought, thank goodness YouTube was around and I thought, I'm going to learn how to do this. This is what I'm going to do.
Okay. So walk us through how you managed and balanced the passion, and it sounds like almost the innate need to throw yourself into crochet, but also how you balance being a wife and a mother and a caregiver and all the other responsibilities and roles that we all play. Because clearly you succeeded just by looking what's around you. You figured it out. So tell us more about that journey.
Well, the good news was that my children were a little bit older and they didn't need, I wasn't needing to change diapers. People were sleeping through the night. And so I had that time to be able to focus on learning this craft. Also, I would say is that with crochet, there's not a huge learning curve. It's a great hobby for a beginner because you can make something as a beginner. It's pretty beginner friendly. So I was starting to see, I was starting to make little things right from the beginning. They looked pretty wonky. They were riddled with mistakes, but it didn't matter to me. I was so thrilled to see that I could make something. But crochet is also one of those hobbies where it's very easy to just set it down. You don't need to do anything special. You just literally lay it down and you can pick it back up. I had tried sewing years ago, but that's setting up a sewing machine and doing all of these things, which I just needed something that I could pick up and I could put down when I had time or when I just needed that yarn therapy. And I also wanted something that was portable so that if we were in the hospital, if we were at a doctor's visit, I could just stick it in a bag and go. And that's one of the beauties of crochet.
And as you were starting to learn and get better at it and do it more regularly, when did you find you were picking up the yarn and the crochet hooks? Kind of talk to me about the cadence of that.
I knew really early on that this was something different for me. I had tried a lot of different hobbies in the past, and I always quit when it got a little bit tough, when things didn't come super easily, and I would think, I'm not good at this. I just don't have a natural ability. But I think there was that need. I needed crochet at this point, and I was willing to push past when I thought, oh, this is too hard, and I would get frustrated. And I just thought, listen, there are people all over YouTube. I could see it on YouTube. They learned how to do this. I can learn how to do this. This is not brain surgery. This is not rocket science. I can learn how to do this. Just breathe, you know. And I pushed past those feelings of wanting to quit when it was hard, and I just kept working on it. And it was such a beautiful thing to focus on. Like, oh, I can't wait till I have time to pick up my yarn. I can't wait, till it's, dinner's put away and the kitchen's cleaned up and I can sit down and just dive into that yarn and just kind of get lost in it.
It's so refreshing and I think filled with hope to hear you describe that, because I have to imagine there are moments where your son is struggling, your family is generally worried, and there could be other things going on in your family as well at the time, but to still have this hobby, which turned into so much more of that for you to actually look forward to, I think that speaks so much to what carries us through those hard moments, is that even though there's could be so much unpredictability about how the day's going to go, you still have this little, handmade activity that you're going to look forward to, despite how much your day has just kind of become a disaster for any number of reasons.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like that little glimmer of hope every single day that you just can hold on to. And it's simple but there's something really powerful about it.
And you didn't put it aside. I mean, it doesn't sound like it's a hobby that when things got really, really tough, you didn't abandon it for 6 or 8 months. You kept going back to it.
Oh, yeah, no. No, even when my son was in the hospital for a week in 2021, I packed so much yarn. It was so crazy how much yarn I brought. But I crocheted an entire blanket, almost the whole thing, because I could not imagine. I mean, it was full lockdown during that time, and we were in a teeny tiny little hospital room, and I couldn't leave the room. So we were I don't even know how small this room was, but there was one little window, and I don't know how I would have gotten through that without just having my project to just crochet and crochet. I got so much done. You obviously, like you said, you produced something very beautiful, but I have to imagine there was a lot of healing going on inside of you as well. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. There's research. I've looked this up. There's research out about how it's specifically about knitting, but I feel like this applies to crochet, and it can probably apply to any creative endeavor that you're doing with your hands, that it helps the brain. It helps us with our heart rate. It helps with blood pressure. There are so many actual physical benefits to it that I really do think there's something very healing about creativity in general.
It slows us down.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
definitely know when I'm working on a paper craft project, and I do pick up knitting and put it down. And if it's a square, I can do it. Anything beyond
Hmm.
that is too difficult for me, and then I don't enjoy it. I know
Yeah.
that I probably have the brain that with the discipline, I could figure out how to knit more complex projects, but then that becomes work, and then that's not fun for me.
Exactly.
So understanding, I think that difference is key, at least for me, and knowing why you go to it. And you're speaking
Hmm.
so, so well of it being a place of refuge and a place of peace and
Hmm.
healing, but also just of beauty and just like
Hmm.
cuteness, like just the little
Hmm.
animals. I just
Yes.
love them. As you kind of have gone on this journey and have shared it with the world, I'd like you to speak to a little bit about creativity and especially anything handmade as you're working on it with regards to your own personal growth. So, what other lessons have you
Oh,
learned about the world, yourself, while you've been pursuing this passion?
it's going to sound crazy, but I would not have this business if it hadn't been for crochet. And yes, I have a crochet based business, but crochet taught me that I could do something that I didn't think I could do because my mentality before was other people are able to do hard things. I can't do that. I'm not strong. I'm not creative. I can't learn new things. I really had a very, very limited mindset,
Mm-hmm.
my entire life. And I think nobody ever told me growing up that I couldn't do things. I just felt like that inside. I don't really know why. I mean, I grew up hearing you can be whatever you want. And I thought, I don't want to be anything. I'm scared to death. I was scared of everything. But something about crochet gave me so much confidence because I would look at something I made and think, I can't believe I made that. Like
Yeah.
I didn't think I was the person who could make beautiful things. I just thought I always felt like that's for other people. Other people are creative. Other people can do hard things. That's not me. So when I started to do it, it literally opened up something in my brain and in my soul to think, wow, maybe you can dream bigger and think about things
Mm-hmm.
in a new way because honestly, I had never thought that before. My husband will look at me and be like, "Who are you now?" Like, oh, we've been married almost 30 years, and I
Mm-hmm.
think he has seen me change so much
Mm-hmm.
for the better. And it led to
I
me.
love
I
that.
started a website. I started an
Mm-hmm.
Instagram. I started my YouTube channel. I never would have done those things because I always had that mentality that, I don't know how to do this already, then I can't do it. So
Yeah.
crochet taught me that no, if you just take it one little step at a time, learn one new thing,
Mm-hmm.
then you'll learn that and then you can move on to the next thing. You don't have to know how to do everything all at once. It really is. It's like one stitch at a time.
Mm-hmm.
It's just learn that and then
Mm-hmm.
you can move on to the next thing.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. I love that. And I just love the idea that you were persistent with it. And
Mhm.
I will also say we don't go into the creative arts and hobbies to be successful, but you've proven to be very successful online. Now, if we're just judging like on numbers of followers, you've got a great following, but it's just that consistency that I see from you in the content you're putting out there, and how much it's resonating with others in the community, like in the creative community. But I know just again with your story and your journey that it's much deeper than it doesn't just stop at the pretty yarn as well.
Mhm.
What are the benefits not only that you've seen from this kind of shift that you've said that you're kind of a different person as a result
Mhm.
of this? We know how it is manifested with your crochet business. What other areas of life have you seen improved because of this?
Oh, I really think so many different ones. I used to think I couldn't cook
Okay.
because it didn't come naturally to me, but now I love to cook. I do
Hmm.
lots of cooking. I've even taken up a little bit of watercolor here and there. I'm still terrible at it, but at least now I'm like, I can
Right.
still enjoy this. It's fine if I can just do this for fun.
Hmm.
It's just given me so much more confidence that it's okay to be who I am and
Hmm.
it's okay that that what I'm doing may be a little bit non-traditional. Yes, my kids joke around that mom plays with dolls in her basement, and basically, I make
True.
toys. I sit in my basement and crochet little animals.
Yeah.
And I think it's just helped me to realize that it's okay to be me, and I don't have to be like everybody else.
I love that
Yeah.
answer. And I think that speaks a lot to those of us who are still kind of trying to identify our creative path and what we love. We don't need to replicate necessarily what else is out there. Find what we love.
Yeah.
And there can be a lot of trial and error in that too.
Yes. And I think the trial and error is important.
Okay.
You have to try things, and because if you don't try, you won't know. And just like with crochet, I feel like there's so many great life lessons from crochet. That mistakes are your best teachers. You can know that there's a mistake, but until you make the mistake and have to correct that mistake, it somehow becomes concrete in your brain. And you're like, oh, I remember doing that and I will never do that again. And I feel like the same thing with life. You're going to make those mistakes, and you'll remember them once you make them and have to fix it.
Because you remember how you feel.
Exactly.
What other life lessons? We could go down a rabbit hole here, but I would love to know some others.
I also think that crochet has taught me that beauty is really important. And there's something so life-giving with beauty, and having beautiful things around you that maybe have absolutely zero purpose, like a little pig or a little doll or, a pretty crocheted blanket. There may be absolutely no true purpose, but that doesn't mean that it's not important, and that it doesn't mean that it's not worth your time and your effort. I think that is, for me, I have found that to be, it's helped me to see how important that is for me, just because I can walk down in this room and just see I have a whole wall on this side with my yarn and books, and you can't help but be happy down here,
That is literally one of the next questions that I wanted to ask you, is the benefits of creating and surrounding yourself with beauty.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I believe more and more that where you live doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you live in a little cottage, in the woods, or if you live in an apartment in New York City. You can make that beautiful, even if you find a little flower that's on the side of the road or in a crack in a sidewalk, and you can bring it home and put it in a book. Or there's just so many little things. I go for walks almost every single day, and I will find a leaf or an acorn or a tiny little pine cone, and it's coming home with me. And I'll just put it on a little table just because it's beautiful, and it just brings me so much happiness. Those little things, it doesn't have to be grand. You don't have to have an interior decorator come to your house.
Right.
There's so many little things that you can do to just make your surroundings filled with the things that you love.
Who inspires you and your creativity?
Oh, gosh. I would say a lot of my inspiration has come from children's books and illustrations. There are especially some of the older ones. I will just go online and look through these old books from like the 1940s, and I will look at the illustrations, and I'm just so drawn to them. There's an author named Tasha Tudor who she did these beautiful little drawings of little cottages and little animals and flowers. They're so beautiful. There's just so many artists. I would say probably children's illustrations they really inspire me.
Okay. Anyone in your online communities, and I guess I'm not specifically looking for the name of someone, but anyone, because it's, as we've said, you do have just a really great online presence, and it seems a really close-knit community, no pun intended,
Yeah.
of people.
Yeah.
But any inspiration in there that you turn to or visit or?
I really admire one YouTube account, and I will share her name. She's
Okay.
Farmhouse on Boone,
Mm-hmm.
and I've learned so much from her. Now, she doesn't knit or crochet. She cooks, and she's raising her family, but she has built a business around her own creativity,
Mm-hmm.
and she has 8 children.
Ooh.
And she is a busy, busy lady, but I have learned so much from her, and she really keeps me inspired. I'll think on days where if I have to film a video or I have to, do something that's not super creative and it feels like work, I'll think, well, if Lisa can do it, I can do it.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't have any excuses.
Yeah. And that pushes you through.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's what's so interesting, and I'm glad you spoke to that. When for creatives who are packaging it into like their daily lives and putting it out there, it can be very solitary, a very solitary
Yes.
experience. Even though once the content is out there, the
Yeah.
community comes, but the community is not always there at the beginning. So you really
Right.
have to overcome any fear, any introverted nature, to really
hmm
be successful and push past that.
hmm Absolutely.
That's,
I have found a group with other crochet business owners.
mm-hmm.
We have a group that meets every week, and we meet on Zoom. And
Oh,
I've
that's
been involved with
great.
that for about a year and a half.
Okay.
And that has been very good for me because I was starting to feel kind of isolated,
Mm-hmm.
just coming down to my basement to work by myself,
Yeah.
and these guys don't really talk back. So,
I know. They're great listeners,
they're great.
but
If they ever start talking back, then I know that it's gone a little too far.
yeah.
But yeah, having other people that you can bounce ideas off of, or just complain about something, or
Mm-hmm.
share those great moments and celebrate each other. I think that's really important when
Mm-hmm.
you are working online and you're working by yourself. It's really, really good to have those connections.
Mm-hmm. And I'd like to
Yeah.
think it also offers a really safe space for vulnerability that we just
Yes.
can't always and don't always share online.
Exactly. It wouldn't be appropriate for me to go onto a YouTube video and complain about, oh, this video took so long. And then I lost some of these video clips. And then
Mm-hmm.
people don't want to hear that, but I can
Mm-hmm.
share that with my group
Mm-hmm.
and share all of that and complain. And,
Mm-hmm.
like we all need that.
Yeah, we do need those spaces. And with technology, we're able to kind of create them and curate them.
Yes.
And zip codes don't matter anymore, which is
It doesn't
great,
matter
which
anymore.
is good. One of the things you had said in something that I had read online is trying new things when we're scared is actually a gift. Tell us more
Yes.
about that.
Oh gosh, this is one of my life lessons that I have had to learn over the last few years. Like I talked about earlier, I've always been a very fearful person.
Mm-hmm.
I think I came out of the womb scared of everything.
Yeah.
And I've realized that running away from the things that you're afraid of it only makes the fears grow. It's when you run towards those fears, you face them head on, and you just say, okay, I'm not running away from you anymore. I'm going straight towards the fear. Is the only place that I have found that actually helps me to feel better and helps those fears to diminish if I just face them head on and run straight for them instead of trying to run away like I always have in the past.
Mm-hmm. Are you brave in that moment?
Never. Never. But I think, that's what I've learned about bravery is
Yeah.
it's not a feeling, it's an
Mhm.
action.
Mhm.
You don't have to feel brave
Okay.
to do something scary. You can feel scared. It's okay.
And do it anyway.
And do it anyway.
Mm-hmm. Life calls us to do that. That's for sure. We don't often have a choice at our battles.
Exactly.
If only we did. Well, I have to imagine there are probably others who will watch this and listen to it who are walking a similar health journey or about to with a loved one who is going through something, pretty intense, either for themselves or caring for someone else. And they may think, yes, in a different life and a different time, I would love to pursue like a craft or a creativity, but there is no way I can do this right now. What advice do you have for them, not only in finding what that is, but the benefits of it in their life, especially in a season that can be very dark and very hard and scary and unpredictable?
First of all, my heart goes out to anybody who's in that situation. But I would really encourage anybody who is in that role to carve out time for yourself. And it doesn't have to be like, maybe you really are in a season where you cannot even think about picking up a crochet hook or knitting needles and even thinking about learning something new like that. But taking care of yourself is not selfish. Mm-hmm. It's really, really, really important. We have to be able to fill our own cups before we can continue to pour out, because eventually you will burn out if you don't take care of yourself. You will. And I think that so many of us, especially as women, are taught that it is noble to basically deplete every bit of yourself for everybody else. And I used to do that. And I've wondered, why did I feel depressed or anxious or exhausted all the time? And now I realize it's because I literally did not take care of myself at all. And I think it's really important. And it can be as simple as making yourself a cup of tea in the afternoon and just grabbing a book and looking out the window, or going for a walk out in the sunshine and just turning off your phone. Like, nope, nobody can contact me right now. I need 15 minutes. And it's really important.
If you don't mind me asking, how is your kind of mental state these days now?
I would say it's up and down.
Sure. Like all of us.
It's up and down. Yeah. It's, my son's health condition is always, it doesn't go away. So that, it's always in the back of my mind. My mom is getting older, and so that makes me anxious. The state of our world is always, up in the air, no matter what side you fall on. It doesn't feel good. And, I at least now have ways to cope when those feelings feel overwhelming. I usually know it's time for some yarn. Go get yourself some yarn. Go sit on, sometimes you have to take care of that inner child and talk to yourself like you would if you were 5 years old. Like, come here. You're really dysregulated right now. Come on, go sit on the couch, grab that yarn, put a little blanket on you, turn on some Great British Baking Show and just veg out for a little while.
Oh, that is perfect advice. And you just encapsulated exactly what I think so many of us who need to hear. And for those of us who are struggling and say, but I can't because I feel this and this and this. Well, if you're feeling that, there's no greater time for you to find that. Find that peace and find that solace. And if it's in a creative hobby, wonderful. If it's something else, welcome it. And I think that you even touched upon it earlier in the cooking, like the creative act and a creative pursuit doesn't need to be something that's very structured and has a pattern. It can just be something that allows you to relax and breathe and let the shoulders kind of come down to earth.
There are so many ways to be creative. We talk about crafts and art, but there's so many other things. And I think one of the benefits of today is that we have access to so many different creative outlets through things like YouTube and Instagram. And yes, those things can be negative. Social media can be a negative space, but you can also curate your social media where it really is life-giving. And you can fill it with beautiful accounts that really inspire you and make you feel like a better person. I will tell you that cleaning out a closet for me is one of the most cathartic things I can do. And it is a creative thing for me to think, okay, how am I going to arrange the towels? How do I want to put the cleaning supplies? I think that can be creative.
Mm-hmm.
It can be just as life-giving as, crocheting a beautiful blanket.
Yeah, it can happen right with what you already have in your home.
Exactly.
And you can find inspiration elsewhere. And I agree with you 110% about curating your online content to be something that just gives you life and joy, because I've done that consciously within the past year or two, and it has been great. People will talk about, well, did you see this headline, or did you see this story or this controversy or drama? And I say, no, my feed is filled with pretty things and inspirational quotes, and it's great. And the negative news and the unhealthy content will always be there. But
Yes.
I and so many others are making the choice and saying that's not helping me; it's hurting me more.
Right.
And so going back to what you said as we wrap up today. We return to the beautiful things, and that's what makes us feel better.
Right.
And gives
And
us
I think
joy.
when we feel better, we make the world better. I really believe that. I think,
Yes.
it can be seen as a selfish thing to say, I am not going to look at the news. I really need to take a step back. But really, we can love the people around us, and we can make the world a better place by being better inside. I
Yeah.
really believe that.
It starts there, and then it extends outward.
Yes. Yes.
Well, Elise, thank you so much for your time. This has been wonderful.
Oh, yes.
I would
Yes.
encourage anyone who is curious about the fiber arts, which I love to say because it encompasses so many things, to check out Elise online, Elise Rose Crochet. Your content is beautiful. What you make is beautiful, but I just love how accessible it is. And you just make it look so effortless and easy. So thank you for your passion.
Thank you.
And thank you for sharing your story. We wish you and your family and your son all the very best.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Wendy.
Okay. Thank you. Understanding the basics of knitting and crochet can be easy and a great form of self-care. I've included a free download in the show notes. This PDF tutorial from Elise Speed of Elise Rose Crochet will get you started on your journey into the colorful world of knitting and crochet. To learn more about the Elise Rose Crochet community, you'll also find those resources in today's show notes.